Welcome, Mr. Springer. Welcome,
Welcome.
welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Listen,
you.
I know you're out on the on you know out on the in the field and getting yourself refreshed and so on. But we're so happy to have you here, Mr. Springer and Mr. Phillips. Well,
Yes.
look at that, Springer, Grenville, Phillips, Phillips.
Yeah.
Philip Phillips. I like that one.
Yes.
Great to have you, sir. How are you doing,
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
I'm always well. Yes. Nothing bothers me. I'm always well. Because
Okay,
when you,
wonderful, wonderful.
yeah,
Well, we have a great hour lineup for you guys to talk to the people. Talk to the people. I know that people are going to share, and even after the program is over, people are going to continue to share. All right, and I know, Mrs. Springer, you were at the march that we just showed a while ago with the
Yes, I
nurses.
was.
What was going through your mind? You're a candidate, you're Barbadian, you're in that atmosphere. People said, you know what, I had goosebumps watching it. Well, how was it for you?
Well, a bit surreal because the circumstances under which this march took place. My mother was a nurse for 34 years, in
Hmm.
from the QEH to the geriatric hospital to the St. Thomas Hospital to the mental. She spent 34 years of her life, the only job she probably ever had, as far as I know,
Hmm.
um, dealing with patients and the issues of healthcare. I'm in
Hmm.
the healthcare industry myself, and it is
Hmm.
a wonderful, I think, thing when you can support the people, those mainline, those frontline workers who,
Hmm.
during the outbreak of this epidemic, were putting themselves on the line for the people, and then to be treated with disdain and the type of disrespect at
Yeah.
Christmas time of old times, where your salaries are being frozen, or in some cases, I understand even being money being taken out of people's account. That is not the time for this. And to me, I felt nothing but compassion for them, and I had to go show my support as a as a candidate and a potential future politician in this country. We're all entitled. We're citizens. We can exercise our rights, and I've decided to exercise mine.
Yeah. Well, it was really a joy to see you there, and some of the independents were out in there, supporting. A lot from the third parties actually were out supporting. I saw yourself. There was Alex Mitchell, and there were some others from BFP who were there. But we also saw there was Kemar Stewart is his last name, who
Yes.
in the city, and is a very cool guy and always connect with the people. And he was there, as well,
Fallon
and
Best, Fallon Best as well, and a few others that I saw there as well, which was very encouraging.
yes, yes, very, very encouraging. Well, you all have just joined us. If you're just joining us, we are talking to Philip Springer, and he is from the BSP and also from the coalition. Right, the Barbados Sovereign Party, but he's also part of the coalition of independent parties. All right, and
Correct.
we also am I correct?
Correct. You are correct.
Yes,
In
yes, and
coalition with Solutions Barbados, New Kingdom Alliance, and the BFP, which is Bajan Free Party. I think, and some independents. I've been approached. I'm sure Mr. Phillips has been as well. We've got about 4 or 5 other independents who are not party aligned or aren't running with anyone, who have also approached us and have mentioned wanting to caucus with us and kind of put this fight together for the people, on behalf of the people.
yes, yes, wonderful. Miss Phillips, welcome again. And
Thank you.
you are one of those pioneers, and I call you a patriot in this country. And I think history will commend you. You know how it's a lot of times it's after we're gone, right?
Yeah.
But you have put up such a fight in this country, especially with the Republic, etc. But last election, you started a Party Solutions Barbados, and here you are this year. You have now joined with several other third parties and formed a coalition. And why is that?
Well, we well first before we go into that, I just want to speak on the nurses too because my mother was a nurse for over 30 years. I have a very special place in my heart for nurses. I think that that is one of the callings. There are some professions that are callings. Um, that's one. I think teachers, that's another calling. So not many are callings. Some are simply there that you go and work and you make a salary and you go and pay a mortgage and those sort of things. But the others where the money isn't that great, but it's a calling. You really want to help the sick, to relieve the suffering. That's a calling.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
I bless those nurses. Um, there's only so much you can take, I suppose. So if you have nurses coming out on strike, it means they must be listened to. They don't Nurses just
mm-hmm,
don't come out. Not nurses, right? Others may, if the transport board drivers came out on strike, they say, "Oh, right, well, they just probably want more money, or it is." But if a nurse comes on strike, you need to just settle and hear what their complaint is and see how that can be addressed. Um, the complaints so far that I can gather are things that can be resolved. So
correct. Yeah.
I'm concerned that they're not being. It's simply a matter of prioritizing some things, but there are things that can easily be addressed. So I don't know why this thing is prolonging like this. I just don't understand that one. So maybe there's more in the
Mm-hmm,
mortar. I don't know, but it once you have nurses striking, that's not good for the country. Let others strike. Let others strike. But
mm-hmm.
when nurses are striking, no, no.
And you know
That's
what?
a
You know what? It's especially in a pandemic, and we are
oh, good
looking
grief.
at, you know,
Oh, good
yeah, we're
grief.
looking at the
Yes,
numbers. I mean,
yes,
what are the numbers today? I know up to yesterday it was about 1,600. What are the numbers? I mean, have we ever seen numbers like this climbing like this?
yes. Well, as you hit the nail on the head. In a pandemic, therefore, there is something extremely important. It needs to be given the importance it deserves. It's a significant thing that's happening. Let's try and find out what let's if resources need to be diverted, if you need to prioritize resources, but you need to look after your nurses, especially after they have given so much. And again, as I said, I'm very biased because my mother, I guess, is a nurse. Because once a nurse, always a nurse. She has that
Yes,
nurse's heart. She has a nurse's heart. There are some, I suppose, that go into it for the money, and those who are really called. Um, let's at least look after our nurses. So I just had to
yes.
get that out there, and I was surprised. I'm surprised actually to learn that Philip's mother was a nurse as well. We apparently have so much in common. I'm so um,
Thank
so
you, Grenville.
yes. So this is the most important election in Barbados' history. I am. That is not hyperbole. That is not just speaking off the cuff. That is a considered opinion. It is this one is the most important election we have ever had. If we get this one wrong, the consequences are so dire. And again, I'm just not speaking as someone involved in politics. I'm speaking from my heart. I am bringing all of me. I am an engineer. I do other. I'm an author. I do a lot of other things. I'm a planner. I'm a project manager. I'm a lot of things, and all of me. is saying, I believe, I love the Lord, I'm a Christian, but all of me, every fiber of my being, is this is the most important election we have ever had. And if we get this one wrong, there is a heap of trouble for Barbados. Consequences are dire. And for that reason, we will have to make the case. We will have to prosecute the case. And that's what we intend to do. To prosecute the case, we fortunately, we will have an election broadcast. So we'll have an opportunity there. But we, starting next week, our flyers will be out, and you will then see more of a presence of Solutions Barbados and the others. We were preparing this week. This week was a time of preparation. We have to get
Yes.
critical things done step by step. We need to get our flyers out. We need to get them printed and in every household. We need to get some voice notes out. We need to make preparations for going forward. So we let the initial stampede happen, because whenever there's a rush at the gate, when someone rings the bell for the athletes to go, there's a big rush, and we let the elephants run. Let them go out there. Let them go out there and jostle for position. We are just there in the pack. We're there, but we're right there, but we're not up front with them. Let them go ahead, right? So they go ahead. Let them go ahead and give out their goodies. Let them give out their Christmas presents. We're just being polite here. So they're giving out their Christmas presents, right? They have Christmas presents to give out. Let them give them. We are not competing with that. We don't have Christmas presents like that to give out. So we're not competing with them. They go ahead, let them give out their presents, and let them remind the public of Barbados that these presents don't do much. You give the present, and then you raise taxes and you take it back. So let them go ahead and remind the public of how bad they really are. And then next week, we will come out. The path is clear, and we go, and we thank them for trampling down the grass. We thank them, trampling it down. The big elephants, the bees on the big elephants. Let them trample it down, and therefore we can go and walk
Go ahead.
easier.
But
Yes.
that's a great perspective, Mr. Phillips. But I do know that it's a snap election, and it's only 21 days to appear. With how the economy is, not a lot of money flowing. Well, not for some people. And
Yeah.
so I know it's difficult for a lot of the third parties to get ready. Mrs. Springer, what are your thoughts about this? I love Mr. Phillips Grenville's perspective on it, but the reality is that this $3,000 I saw that is being given out. People are saying they're getting $3,000 and so on. I mean, you guys would not have that kind of budget. The big posters and the big blitz and the big launches. You're a third party. How do you feel looking at all of that happening?
I'm excited, Marcia. I feel that this is David and Goliath. I read the Bible. I grew up reading the Bible, understanding the power of God, understanding that we are all conceived in sin and brought forth in iniquity. Let me preface anything I say from this point out based on that. I also believe in prophecy, and I believe that this election is, as Mr. Granville Phillips said, the most critical election in Barbados history. And the reason for this is we had a DLP government prior to this for 10 years. They were swept out of office 100%. This new government, the DLP, was put in to replace them to make wrong things right. We have seen more of the same old, and even in some cases worse than before. And it is time the pendulum will swing back the other way. I believe that. I'm going to be an agitator a little bit tonight in the sense that I believe that the snap election is not such a detriment. As a matter of fact, I would rather believe that it is the will of God, and that in fact, if it was called at any other time, other than this most awkward moment where you're coming out of a Christmas holiday, where you're given very few days to even prepare, not even weeks or months. You said 21 days, but the truth of the matter is, if you count from Monday to
Mm-hmm.
the day of election, it's really only 16 days.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time you get through all of that, you really only have 1 week. By the time you put your preparations together, 1 week of real campaigning.
Mm-hmm.
But I do not believe for 1 minute that this was a planned date of call. I believe we were going to get an election. I think we were all getting ready for it. I know I was, and I'm sure some of the other people that I know and associated with were. But I would like to ask the question, just out of curiosity, why now? But the answer to that is not going to be flesh and blood. It is going to be something that was prophetic, because I think you're going to see the parting of the Red Sea. The children of Israel are going to be led out of Egypt. And this is the final straw. I could say a lot more about that, but I will allow other people to kick in and have their say on that matter. What I'm saying in a nutshell, or what I'm saying in plain English, then, we've seen the extremes on both sides of the political spectrum. We only had two parties. This election is the time to make the change. And it's time that we have 4 or 5 parties in this country representing the people, and never again giving any party any majority status in this country. That's the only way the people's interest is going to be served. Coalition politics is the best solution for the people. And I say that because I understand coalition politics. I've lived abroad for most of my life. I've seen coalition governments formed. Coalition doesn't mean that you fold up your tent like Atherley and Eastman did and come under one umbrella. That's not coalition politics. That's just party politics. Same old, right? We have 3 BLP parties running in this election: the BBLP, and the BAPP. The only alternative group in all of this election is the alliance that we have formed with independent-minded thinking people who are prepared to represent the interests of all Barbadians, no matter if they're black, white, yellow, brown, male, female, gay, ungay, whatever. I'm not getting into all of that. We will represent the interests of the people of Barbados. First and foremost, hence the name Barbados Sovereignty Party. Everybody is born sovereign. It then depends on what we do with that sovereignty. We hand it over to these guys and a proxy, and they abuse it. And we sit back and re-elect them 5 more years. Well, I want recall legislation. I want integrity legislation. And I want an audit done on the abuse of the people's money. I will rest for now.
Well, you know what? Very spirited, very spirited. I must say, and I hear Mr. Phillips. I hear people say, why should we give a third party a chance? People are saying, well, if the traditional parties couldn't do anything for Barbados, why is it necessary to give a third party a chance? What would you say to them? People who are listening and say, well, I don't really like third parties. I want to go with what we know. These are the 2 parties we know. Why should they choose a third party?
Yes, well, we've tried the DLP's way, the Democratic Labour Party's way, and all they've done is put us in an unsustainable debt. The debts are unsustainable. Then we tried the Barbados Labour Party, and they've done the same thing, just ratchet up the debt. So it's even more unsustainable. Then we go back to the Bs or the Ds, more unsustainable debt, Bs, more unsustainable debt. It keeps growing and growing, just very unsustainable. So that it was foreseen that we would have to go to the IMF. I didn't expect that we would actually default. I didn't think that we would be that reckless, but we defaulted and then are here with the IMF. Now, so they have demonstrated over the past 55 years that they cannot manage our national economy. So that is proven. It is proven that they cannot manage our national economy. Yet they want to become a republic. At least demonstrate that you can manage the national economy, which you were elected to do, without putting us in unsustainable debts, and then you talk about what your plans are. So every 5 years, what we have is the political parties, and I'm an engineer. As an engineer, I design structures and make sure that they're built properly. So if you're going to just do a house or something like that, you need three things. Number one, you need plans. What are the plans? How does the house look? How big is it? Small is it? Windows, doors, etc. And that can be the manifestos. Then you need an economic plan, a financial plan. How are you going to pay for this construction? It's not just going to be built by magic. You need money to go and pay people to build it. And then the third ingredient is you need competent builders. You need those three things. One, you need a plan, which is drawings. Two, you need a financial plan. How are you going to finance it? Are you going to go and get a mortgage? Are you going to go and work a lot or win the lottery? How are you going to finance this thing? What's the plan for doing that? And then third, what people are going to be used to build this thing. The manifestos contain the plan. And we can look at everyone's manifesto, we can line them up and say, well, the BLP manifesto doesn't sound too bad, or the Ds don't sound too bad, or Solutions Barbados, they're all workable. They're nice manifestos. I like the house. That's a pretty good house. I like to live there. But that's not, and unfortunately, what we've done is we have elected people based on the house and not on their capacity to build it or to finance it. So what we did is we put together a financial plan, an economic plan to show how we would build this thing. We were one of the few that did that. I think the UPP did that as well. And we were willing to share it with the financial institutions and say, look, have at it. Go and criticize it harshly, take a look at it, but let the other parties as well. The Barbados Labour Party refused to share their plan. The Democratic Labour Party refused to share their plan because their plan is simply to the IMF. Their plan is simply tax and tax and tax and tax and spend us into oblivion and until all these debts become unsustainable. And they are. 150% GDP debt, that is unsustainable. I think it's come down to about 130 something now, but it's still unsustainable. Anything over 40% is unsustainable. Certainly when you get to 60%, that is reckless. But we are now 130 or 40% unsustainable, just like the last administration. So they've both shown that their competence in doing this thing is really incompetence. They just can't do it. And how much more do they need to show Barbadians that they just cannot manage our national economy? So our plan costed, we are willing to give it to our financial national institution of Chartered Accountants of Barbados, Barbados Economic Society, the Barbados Chamber of Commerce, any financial institution. We are inviting them, even now we are inviting them, come look at our plan. BLP, you know what their plan is now, that's the BERT plan. And all right, that's what they chose, the BERT plan. And I can accept that. The BERT plan, they just want to get the IMF in there to show the investors of the world who want to invest in Barbados that you can have some confidence that you'll get the money back because we have the IMF looking over our shoulder and beating us in the event that we stray. So I understand that plan, but that plan shows that that is who we are. It shows that we cannot manage our national economy. It shows that we are so weak, we are so dense, we just can't manage a national economy of 280,000 people, right? We can't manage this economy for some reason. So why should you? And again, the next thing then is the people, and we have very good people. We have very good people, highly qualified people. The media asked us, please fill out a little form and let us know how much experience your people have, what do they do, and that sort of thing, our qualifications. So we spent a bit of time doing that, and we provided that to the media. And when they wanted that from all parties. So when they observed how qualified Solutions Barbados candidates were, they never used it. It never went into any of the media. They never used it because once you put us against them, you can see that we are good builders. We are competent, highly qualified people, and they decided never to use it so that the people of Barbados always will think, well, it's the B's or D's. When they were the least qualified, they had the least qualified candidates. So now we have it again. So we're here. Why should Barbados choose a third party this time?
Yes.
Because the first two parties have consistently failed. The only thing they know how to do is fail, and failure is not in what we see, but is in how sustainable is it. Have you gone into a sustainable debt to do this? Anyone can go and get money. Any idiot can borrow money. Not borrow. Any idiot can spend money. Anyone can spend money. It takes no competence whatsoever. It takes zero competence to go and take money and spend it. And that's all we're doing. We just spending with no care about who has to pay for this. That's why you need an economic plan. So we have a good economic plan. It's a proven plan. It's been independently verified as workable. It will save Barbados. So if they want that kind of prosperity, they vote for Solutions Barbados members, and those who Solutions Barbados endorses, those part of the coalition, Phillip and Apostle Leroy. So it's up to them. It's up to the people. But we will present our case, and that's our job. Our job is to present our case to show you why you should vote for us. But that's why we look forward to answering questions. Anyone who has any questions, ask them. How do we plan to do this? How do we ask them? It's just that we are not asked in the traditional media. They just ask those things to the bees and assume that they have all the
Right.
answers. They don't, and they've proven that they don't have all the answers. And the Auditor General's report every single year proves that they're just messing this thing up, just messing it up. So it's not
Right.
well.
One
There,
second there. Excuse me, Mr. Phillips. Excuse me. I think they're saying that the show is dropping out. Can anybody else verify that for me? If the show is dropping out, that's what someone said, and we want people to hear exactly what it is that you're saying. You know, I as I'm listening to you, Mr. Phillips, I want to ask Mr. Springer. Mrs. Springer, but do you think Barbados is ready? So we're saying, okay, this is why you should choose a third party. The question is, why? The question is, is Barbados ready for a third party?
Marcia, that is a perfect question at the perfect time. And I'll tell you why. I'm sitting here listening to Mr. Phillips, and I'm thinking of one question. What is the definition of madness? Doing the same thing and expecting a different result. We have for 55 years done the same thing, elect either BLP or DLP government for 55 years. And in 55 years, as Mr. Phillips said, they have proven beyond any shadow of a doubt that they are not capable or competent sufficiently so in doing the nation's business. We have a political class of people, or so say, that are the ones that are always put forward to represent the interests of the people, but we never see the people's interests being represented. We see some small portions of the people being represented, but on the larger scale, it is self-interest. So my answer to your question is, it is time to make the change. If we are going to save this country, and if we're going to make a future for our children and grandchildren, We have to make the change now. It is not an option 5 years from now or 10 years from now. The ship will have sailed by then. So, in answer to your question, why do I think it's time for a third party? Because we have given 55 years, that is more than 90% of my life, to these two sisters or brothers, whatever they are, maybe half brothers or half sisters. And they have achieved nothing but the chaos that we find ourselves in. They've managed the economy poorly, they've managed um, the healthcare system poorly, they've managed much of the whole country to the state that we're in, as Mr. Phillips just said. GDP is unacceptable. I would like to say one thing. I'm going to depart from my position now, and I will only say one thing, sort of contrary to this. I would like to ask a question. In a pandemic, we had a health minister, Mr. Bostic, whom I have nothing but respect for. And Mr. Bostic, I'm in the healthcare industry, by the way. I sell pharmaceuticals to governments as well as companies and clinics and so on and so forth all through the region. But Mr. Bostic, in a pandemic, I thought was managing the pandemic. Barbados was doing pretty good. I followed the results of pandemic throughout this region. But yet Mr. Bostic is not running in this election. And I have to ask the question, probably one of your better ministers doing a better job of all the ministers is absent. So I'm just putting a question out there. I'll let the people decide for themselves what is the answer, unless we're given an official answer to explain why a minister, a health minister, who was trying very hard to provide the best um, professionals side that he could, is no longer either interested or no longer acceptable to the government that he served in less than the 5 year term that he was entitled to have. Why are
You
we
know,
why are
Mrs.
we
Spring, let me break you there. That's a very interesting question, and I haven't really stopped to ask that. I didn't think about that, but if he was doing such a great job, why wouldn't the Minister of Health, who was was featured in the last 2 years, he's the person who was featured. Why isn't he running? Interesting question. I'm going to ask those of you who are watching. You're watching. I wanted to. You heard the question the man posed, Mr. Springer posed, and he is from the Barbados Sovereignty Party, and they have come together and form a coalition with Solutions Barbados and also the Bajan Free Party. They have come together, and they believe that coalition is the way to go, and that it's very important in this election that you give the third parties a look. And what I love, Mrs. Springer and Mr. Phillips, is that you have decided to come together, and I think that that is beautiful. But I want to hear those of you who are watching, and you can hear us. Why? I want to hear you. I want to hear from you guys tonight. I want to hear from the audience. If you have questions for any of the candidates, let us hear from the audience. And I want to also hear if you have an answer to the question: why do you think Mr. Bostic is not running in this election? And as you think about your answers and you post it, I'll be able to see it in real time. But I'm going to go to Mr. Phillips. And Mr. Phillips, can you talk to us about the constituencies that you are representing, that you are seeking to represent? At the moment, you have how many candidates that do you have, and what are the constituencies that they are representing? Because we don't yet hear about your candidates. That's the thing, you know. We don't yet hear about. We're not hearing about you guys. So can you talk to us about your candidates?
Yes, because as I said, because it was a snap election, um, you design the system and then you implement it. We did this week designing, next week implementing. Uh, as I said, we did not want to be in that traffic. We did not want to be in that initial traffic. That was strategic. We just didn't. And I've been told by our members, please, you don't have to go there. Don't let them go forward first. Don't go caught up in that there. Don't want to exhaust yourself with
Good
that there.
strategy. Good strategy.
Yes, yes. I mean, you have to do, as I said, you design it, and therefore this concentrate on your flyer. Concentrate on getting that flyer done perfectly because that flyer is that election circular. It's an election circular. That election circular must go into every single house in Barbados, and therefore every house will get to see what that's our manifesto. Our election circular is our manifesto. Our manifesto will go into every house in Barbados. Um, we have um, the, we have been informed by the by the post office that we have a deadline of Monday at 2:30 to get those flyers into them, and therefore we have to design them, get them printed, and then get them there. And each person has to go and look at their flyer and go over it and go over it until they can't go over it anymore, until they've perfected it as much as they can, because that's their that's what they're talking to the people in the house. So that's that. So they're and that's one thing. Their voice notes, video things, their social media campaigns. Just set those things up so that next week you're ready to go. And by then, these are out of our way. The people would
Good.
have
So,
played
I
with
mean,
their Christmas
it's a
toys.
great strategy, if I may say. It's a great strategy
Yeah.
because I saw someone from your from Solutions Barbados. They just put out there. This is Patricia Cox, and I had
Yes.
to look at it because I haven't seen it. So there's now that space is now created. So it's an interesting
Yes.
strategy. But can you
So
tell us what are
yeah, I'll
where
tell
are
you.
you? How many you have?
Yeah. So we have 11 candidates that are running this time.
Mm-hmm.
We have Jacqueline Aline running in St Andrew, highly competent person. Um, we have Fallon Best. He's running in Bridgetown.
Oh,
We are,
Fallon. Fallon
Fallon
is
is running.
very competent. Very competent.
Yes, yes. So he's running in Bridgetown um, against the B's and the D's. So we have Robert Toussaint. He's running in St Michael's Central. We have Angela Eady. She's running in St Michael West Central. We have Patricia Cox, a wonderful, competent lady,
Yes.
um, running in St Michael's South. I mean, that we were able to attract that quality. Um,
Yes.
as you learn about them, because as we talked in our meetings, and I listened to them and how qualified they are and what they do, nothing but impressed.
And
Nothing but
I
impressed.
must
That's
say, to you, Mr. Phillips, I know Patricia Cox, and for a number of years actually, and she literally goes into those communities and work with them. She was there just before Christmas, working with the women in the community, and
yeah.
before she even knew that there was going to be an election. So these are
Yes.
people that I know that she's a hard worker and she loves the community.
Loves people, but competent, able to build the house, right? A competent builder of the economy. We have Victorine Wilson, St. Michael West. As I said, once you hear their stories, because I can sit down here and now talk about all of these, we will have their tonight. We will have their flyers up. That's the plan anyway. They'll have the flyers up because again, we're doing the digital stuff and then we go in physical. But we'll have their while we're waiting on their physical flyers to be printed, their digital flyers are there so that anyone can read them.
Hmm.
We have Kenneth Lewis, highly competent fellow from Christchurch, West Central. That's where he's representing. Sorry. We have Susan Corbin, Christchurch East. Uh, This woman is exceptional. Her she exceptional. And that's the thing about our candidates. They have spent their time becoming competent in managerial positions, becoming extremely competent at what they do in the corporate area, in other areas. But that's what they do. They haven't spent their time talking. So unfortunately, um, when you go on, you got to be careful. But they haven't spent their time talking and perfecting how bringing things over the right way. Me, I'm an engineer. I'm the first chartered structural engineer, I think, to ever run in politics. I do designs. I do calculations. I'm not talking all the time. If I'm talking, I'm talking to say, well, you haven't built that correctly. You have to go and bring the jackhammer out and do it properly. So that's the kind of speech I do. I'm not a political fellow, but I'm forced into this because of these two parties that just can't get it done. And I said, well, here, try this, and they didn't want to. I said, well, if you don't want to look at it, I'll go and start a party. And then
Mm-hmm.
if you're still not looking at it, I'll run candidates against you. You ran 28 the last time. But let me
Actually, we're
finish.
hearing here Camille Aline is saying we do need flyers so we can get their stories and know what
Yes,
their strengths are and what they have to offer.
I can
Right?
send them to you. I can send them to you so that
Yes.
if you have some place that you want to put them, and so they can be distributed widely, I'll send them to you. But we will
Mm-hmm.
post them on our website as well. I'll have them on my Facebook page. People will have them on the Facebook pages as well, and they're going out. So that's the flyers going
Yes.
before us. So first we had the two beasts, the the bees and the two elephants. I let them trample down, and get the graph flat, prepare the way for us. Um, then we have our social media, and then we are coming behind that physically.
Right.
And we
Well,
will be
we're
there, hopefully visiting
we're
every house.
looking forward. We're looking
But let me
forward,
let me get some
Mr.
others.
Phillip,
Let
to
me get
hear.
two
Oh,
others
you
in.
have some
So,
others. I'm
oh
sorry.
yes, it's not finished yet. The cup runneth over. So we have Ronald Lord.
Oh.
He's
Mm-hmm.
representing St. Philip South. And then we have Karina Goodrich. She's an attorney. She's the only attorney that we have in ours. Yes, ours isn't full of lawyers, but we have an excellent lawyer, um, St. Philip West. They're all wealth creators, and that's how you will know certainly our candidates, Solutions Barbados, because they're all wealth creators. They create wealth for others, for themselves and others. So they even though they have manufacturers and lawyers and different things like that, you will know them on the ballot, because on the ballot you can't put down BLP or DLP or Solutions Barbados or anything like that. But you will see wealth creator, and that's how you will know the Solutions Barbados candidates.
Wow. This is awesome, and I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of
Yeah.
Solutions Barbados for putting forward such very capable, at least so far, what we're hearing of them, and some of them I know, and these are believers. These are people who are not going to be
Yes.
saying no God in Barbados.
Yeah.
So this is one of the reasons why we have this forum, Mr. Philip, so that I think there's some noise coming through.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. This is why we have this forum, so that we can present these candidates and we can support you as you in what you're doing.
I want to turn it a
And
bit.
yeah, and what we are going to be doing is all these candidates, we're hoping that over the period of time that you can have them on schedule them to come onto the program and let us meet them. I want to meet Miss Corbin, and I want to meet all these people that you're talking about, that I haven't met. I know Patricia Cox, and I know Falon Best, and I know they are excellent people in terms of character and what they do. But we would like to meet them, and so that would be wonderful. But let me go to Mr. Philip Springer. So, Philip Springer, can you tell me, about Barbados Sovereign Party? How many candidates you have, and what areas are you representing?
Well, right now we have only the two that actually made the cut, myself and Michael Carlson. We did actually have about 12 potential candidates, but for one reason or another, because they did not make the cut, whether people didn't show up for the nomination and stuff like that. I think a lot of that was because most of them are first timers. I'm a first timer, but I've been around the political game for a long time. And what happened is that people talk to somebody and say, okay, yes, I'm going to come and nominate you. I'm going to second you. I'll come a witness. But then they go to work. I know of a few of my people who the people could not get time off their jobs to go do their civic duty, to just
Mm-hmm.
nominate or to. I had
Nominate.
one of the candidates that was going to run with us, Emmanuel
Mm-hmm.
Barilla. He had a problem at the end of the day. Two of his people were threatened with losing their jobs if in fact they left the job to go nominate him. Things like that was occurring. I
Mm-hmm.
am also aware of two persons that Mr. Phillips had who have been threatened with the possibility of losing their job because they
Mm-hmm.
decided to run as candidates. I was told today at the walk for the nurses, there's another incident where somebody has in fact been given notice to that they're losing their job. These are the kinds of things that must stop. We are all
So tell me
Barbadians.
something, Mrs. Springer, though, because of time, I want to hear about your constituency. So which, which constituency are you seeking to represent?
I'm seeking to represent St. Thomas. That's where I was born. That's where my naval string is. My family is from St. Thomas. I was born in Farmers, St. Thomas. My family originated was in St. Lucia and St. Andrew. However, I personally was born in St. Thomas. And Mr. Michael Thompson, who is the general secretary of our party, he qualified for St. Peter, but there was a bit of a
Mm-hmm.
conflict there because Reverend I can never remember his name. Mr. Phillips helped me out there. Linroy Scantleberry also qualified for St. Peter, so we had to make a decision. And so we decided that Mr. Thompson would run for the seat and Mrs. Canterbury would be the support in St. Peter. So we've had to make those kinds of adjustments. Altogether, Mr. Phillips did not give you the full list of all the candidates, but I believe we have 20 or 21 at this time between the coalition. And then there's probably another 3 or 4 independents that are talking to us. They've been talking to me up to today. There's a young lady, Monique, not Monique. Her last name is Tate. I can't remember. Marissa Tate. And I had occasion to be on another show with her last night, and I went today and I collected her, and we went to Boundaries and Boundaries Commission, Electoral and Boundaries Commission, and we did some paperwork there with her, and she's quite organized. She's running in St. George North, and she's quite a person. She works in the fish market, but she's a very good entrepreneur, very qualified as well, and very educated, by the way. Just because she's a fisher person, does not. That's her choice. But
You know
she's
what you said, Philip, that she worked in the fish market, but those are the people. Those are the people, and that's what I love about these third parties. And I'm smiling because when I heard Grenville describe those people, I want to meet them. When I hear you talk about this woman who is that's what she's a fisherwoman. I want to meet her. I want to
yes,
meet her. I want those.
yes,
Yes, because these are the people. In Jamaica, we have a saying where you turn your hand and make fashion, right? These are the
yes,
people who they can take anything. They're innovative, and that's what
yes.
we need. We need
Correct,
innovation. So
correct.
let the fisher woman represent us. Come on, very
You know
important.
what
She's
I'm
an
looking
entrepreneur.
forward to. You know what I'm looking forward to, Marcia. A government that represents the people, that looks like the people. It's like a jury. A jury is supposed to be of your peers, a representative of your peers, a reflection of your peers. We have governments that are full of failed lawyers and other professions that they don't make it in, so they go and they get a cushy piece of cheese for 5 years or something. They've not been out there a slug and had to be rejected by the bank or miss a payment here or there or get, lawyers running them down or because they're lawyers and they go and they do it to people, then they go and get the job in government where it's an easy handout. I've never heard of a politician yet that missed a paycheck. You see? So all I'm saying is when these real folks here who go out and create, not only
Yeah.
feed us, but they actually create the jobs that keep us whole, and yet they give their power over to these people who turn around and abuse the system because they don't have any better
Mhm.
way of solving the problem. And I will apologize to the young lady because I said, but that's true. You're right. This lady's actually very qualified. She has about 3 degrees and
Wow.
one in
Oh,
political
I want
science.
to meet this lady. I want to meet this lady.
Absolutely. I will set her up with you tomorrow. She has 1 degree in political science. She has a degree in, I believe, business and some, I don't remember. I think the third one is something to do with healthcare as well. And I will let her explain her way. But we have people like that. What we need to do, and what I think Mr. Phillips is waiting to do, we plan to do our launch later this week,
Yeah.
possibly Saturday night, from what I understand. And I think that Mr. Phillips is not trying to get too far afield at this point. Once we're able to launch our candidates, we don't have 30, but we don't need 30. I
Mhm.
tell I tell the people in our coalition, you only need one. You break the glass ceiling, it'll never be remended. Okay, so we need to break that little cocoon that these people have established for themselves. The bottom line is once we're able to launch and get our people out there, and next week, Mr. Phillips is quite right, and I like his leadership because he is the chairman of the coalition, and I respect that. In that, you plan. You have to build a roadmap before you before you build the road. You have to know where you're going, and that's what under his leadership we've been doing for these past couple of days. Not panicking, not oh my God, it's not. We've never panicked. We thank God for the opportunity because no matter what the outcome is,
Mhm.
we are going to show the
Mhm.
people of Barbados that there is an alternative, that there is a difference, that you in fact are not stuck with any existing systems. We were a colonial country, we became an independent country, and now we're a republic. And we did all that without even the consultation of the people. We became a republic without one citizen casting a vote or deciding that they wanted a republic. Nobody asked us if we wanted a
Mm.
republic. But today we are a republic. Let me ask you a question. What are the rules of the republic? What are the constitutions that we're supposed to be living under at this time? How
And
did
let
we
me
get
tell you,
into an
the truth
election?
is that we don't have any right now. We're told
How did
let's do it afterwards, right?
How did
So,
we get
but
into an election without a constitution, without rules? And when we now go and give them people the power again, how do we know what we're going to be dealing with tomorrow? I'm not trying to stoke any fires. I'm just asking the
yeah.
people to
No,
think.
you need to stoke the fire. That's a good fire to stoke because you know what? This is about us. We live here. It's about us, and they're there to serve us, to represent us, to serve us. So we need to ask these questions, and I think that this is important. Now we only have 2 more minutes, 2 minutes,
Oh my.
and so I want us to talk about where we can find the information, Mr. Chairman of the Coalition, Mr. Grenville Phillips. Can you tell us where we can find the information and when is the launch? Because I can tell you, people want to hear more, about the candidates.
Um, Apostle Canterbury working on those things because so I can't tell you exactly right now, but I can pass that on information on to you. The same way that I will pass on our flyers to you. As soon as information is known, I can pass it on to you. I will speak about the things that we are certain of, and therefore that's what I will provide to you. Um, but very quickly, I don't want people to think that they should just give this coalition, they should not give these persons a chance, or they should just give us a chance because Kadir, we had the B's and the D's and they failed, and therefore, well, let's just try these. No,
Mhm.
that's not the way. That's not the way, because it's better to stay with the devil you know, right? It is better to stay with the devil you know. That's why, since we understood that, we designed this thing so that you get to know us. We are not the devil, right? We're not the devil. It's not the two, two bad options. We presented our plan. We presented us, the people. You can see who we are. We are all believers. We are believers. The people that we are endorsing will be believers. And the reason why, and this endorsement is important, because since we don't have 30, we will need to endorse some. We will need to endorse some because every Barbadian needs to know, needs to have a chance to say God
Yes.
or the devil,
Mhm.
right? I mean, it
And
really is that. It comes down to that, God or the devil. We're not calling the B's and the D's the devil. We're not calling them, they are not the devil. They are not the devil, but they'll be voting. That's what we have to make the case, God or the devil. Now, we run out of time here,
Mhm.
but we will make that case. We're not speaking this crazy stuff. It really is literally God or the
Or the
devil.
devil.
It is
I
really that
love how you
simple.
put
It's that
that, and
simple.
we're out of time. We're out of time. I'll give Mr. Phillips, Mr.
I
Springer.
just want,
One
I
minute.
just want to, I
Go
quickly
ahead,
just
sir.
want to add one more statement. This is a coalition run by three persons. It's a three-party leadership. And the reason for this is that we're bringing a different brand of leadership to the people, not one person making all the decisions for everybody. There are three leaders. We agreed upon this. And we agreed on who the chairman is, who the president of the party is, and who the general secretary of the party is. And we have decided how to work this relationship out in the best interest of the people. And so far, it is a different model than the one that the people have been given for 55 years. So I want us, as time goes on, Marcia, I appreciate you having us on. I appreciate it being on. But I want you to give us, the coalition, an opportunity to come back with some of the
Of
members of
course.
our coalition and before the election in
I
order to
guarantee
present
you they're going
this
to come
leadership.
back because let me tell you, I could tell you from the comments, people are interested. And one person said here about ordinary people. And somebody said, let me tell you, Stafford King, let me make a point here that it is ordinary people who put these so-called intellectuals in power, then they betray the people, right? So I think it's time that we always love to look to lawyers, and this one is a doctor and all of that, but we want to be able to get the ordinary people who are skilled. Let me tell you, very, very skilled. So I'm looking forward. I'm honestly excited to meet these people, guys, and I'm asking people to share the live, share the live. The opportunity that they're going to get on here, they're not going to be able to get that on traditional media. And so this is the Election Express, and we make no bones about it, we are featuring, guys, all the third parties. That's what we're doing, and we're excited about it. All right, so guys, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so proud of you all, so proud of that coalition. I'm excited. I know great things are going to happen. Grenville, you have stuck with it and you're doing it, my guy. We're so excited. All right, so see you again. We look out for them. They're coming back. All right. God bless you.